I'm very much looking forward to your questions for our connections. And hey, we're in session 4 of the Full Body Fix. So tell me, please tell me when you come on Q&A with me, share with me the positive things you're learning. What are you learning? What are you developing? How is your mind changing in terms of how you think about your body alignment and positioning and the functionality of you? Tell me about those things. And also, please feel free to share those things in the chat. But when you come up on Q&A, I would love to hear from you about those things. And before we get into Q&A, tomorrow, Saturday, depending on where you are in the world, but for 95% of us, tomorrow, Saturday, is the 5th session of the Full Body Fix. And you absolutely do not want to miss the 5th session. We're going to have a lot of fun there, along with the great education you've been experiencing thus far. So make sure that you are here with us tomorrow for the 5th session of the Full Body Fix. With that, let's go into Q&A. And how do you participate in Q&A if you're not yet familiar? Bottom of the Zoom toolbar, which is like the bottom of the screen, there's all those different words and buttons and icons. And you'll go across and you'll find a button that says reactions. And if you click on that, a box will open. Bottom of the box, there's an option that says raise hand. And if you click on that, your digital hand will raise. Zoom toolbar, click reactions, then click raise hand. And if you do that, then I'll know to call on you. And I'll call on you in the order of which you raise your hand. With that being shared, let's get into Q&A. And hello, welcome to you, Mary.
Okay. Hi, Robbie. I have a shoulder injury, and I just wanted to say the positive thing for me during this session was that my hands were facing inwards towards my body when I was standing. And by the time I finished all your exercises, my hands were facing outwards. And then I thought, wow, I'm so misaligned. And if I do this all the time, how I could correct it quickly. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. So grateful.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
That exactly. Yeah. And it's interesting, Mary, because exactly what you experienced, that's exactly how it works. Every time we train, we retrain our neurological connection, and we retrain what I call the mechanical characteristics of the tissue. In other words, the functionality of the tissue outside of the body's nervous or electrical system connection. It's really the nervous system's electrical system connection that's setting all of these things.
Okay.
And I'm going to share an interesting fact about that. But just as you saw, you can change in a session. And what's also interesting to know is that we can make those things that change during a session and then kind of seem to go back, and then we change during a session and seem to go back. Eventually those things will become more permanent. And you do change little by little by little, you're getting towards the more ideal position. And with everything we learn, whether it's a lunge position and where the knee is going, or how the foot is functioning with an arch or not, or the shoulder alignment, all these things, they all can go to where you become unconscious of it. In other words, through your natural pattern. And we actually have research on this that shows us it takes 3,000 to 30,000 exposures to retrain a neurological pattern. But that can happen fast, right? And one set of an exercise of 10 reps, which isn't a lot of reps, that's 10, right? If you do 3 sets, that's 45. You work out multiple times a week. You can get to those 3,000 pretty fast. And if you're doing 15, 20 rep sets, of course, it happens even faster. The other thing that's really interesting for everyone to know is that, I'm retraining your neurological, your motor control understanding, which is the higher centers of your brain that condition all of these things. And that will literally develop new neuronal connections and functionality into the spinal cord, into the peripheral body structure. And it doesn't have to just be physical. You can actually develop those exposures through mental rehearsal. So as you think about throughout the day what I'm teaching you about, and you position yourself throughout your day and this type of thing, you'll actually recondition that path to being aligned and with unconsciously by mental rehearsal, not just physical exposure. So in other words, thinking about, oh, my arm should be like this. This is proper alignment. Oh, that's like one exposure, right? So those 3,000 to 30,000, I know it's a big gap, but that's what the research shows, just depending. And that really depends on how far you are from misalignment. And also the interesting thing is too, is like the 30,000 is usually the more it takes more like this is because the individual is doing exercise that's misaligned, and then they're trying to do reps that are aligned also. So that's why when we exercise, you want to only do your motions within ideal alignment, and that the load doesn't matter in the beginning. That comes later, because for every one rep we do wrong, it takes 2 reps to correct to get towards that unconscious positioning. Yeah. So, when you train all day long, first of all day long, and when you exercise, not like when you get out of an exercise session, the body shuts off and it's not training. We're actually training 24 hours a day. So when you start to think about it like that and hold yourself in alignment, you can very quickly, and then you combine mental rehearsal, you can very quickly transform your body and functionality.
That's great news. Thank you so much. Excellent.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. Hello and welcome to you, Kate.
Good early morning for you.
Yes.
I hope I can formulate and articulate my questions. If I struggle, I may want to wait until after James or whoever else is last right now with a raised hand. But I have injured my right shoulder 8 times, and I know I have some sort of a tear somewhere. It's confirmed by MRI a few years ago, and I haven't looked up the records to see exactly where it was, whether it's a tissue or ligament or muscle or whatever. But I have constant misalignment and shifting and discomfort to pain in my right jaw, my neck, which, by the way, has had a number of whiplash injuries in my 20s, and so that neck is completely straight. And a lot of pain through here with winging in my shoulder. So as I did the exercises today, I'm like, oh man, I tend to push through too much pain sometimes, like going, farther than a 5 or whatever. And what I'm wondering is, even if, I don't know how to articulate this, I'm wondering about my personal safety in doing this. Do I just push through, keep the pain level at 5? Well, then I'm finding sometimes I can't get exactly in the position I need to be in to be doing it correctly. I'm just wondering, is it time for me to do another MRI before I proceed or whatever? And what they're going to say is, oh, you need surgery. Well, that's what I'm trying to avoid. I think intuitively, I really believe I can, intuitively, I believe I can align this and prevent surgery because I just know I'm weak. And
yeah, the shoulder, the shoulder's very complicated to fix, and in my mind, it's actually very easy to fix. One of the difficult things is getting the individual to do what you just said, is like, forget about pain, forget about load, and even forget about range of motion, and just focus on the alignment and the deficiencies. Because our shoulder has so much range of motion, when you know your deficiencies, it's able to make a gigantic difference. Like, so we have the motor control that I was showing in the session. We have the mobility factors that I was showing in the session. When you start to really figure out where is your specific deficiency and you really focus on that, your shoulder will start to align. And when you keep yourself out of inflammation, which you do that by avoiding impingement, okay? So when we get into, you don't want to create impingement, because what happens is when we get into these positions that impinge our shoulder, as I showed in today's session, like the humeral head and then the scapula here, and you have the space, the humeral head comes up and collides and smashes into the scapula, and it's creating wear and tear and stress and even fraying in the tissue. So then those tissues get inflamed, and when they get inflamed, they swell. So then the small space that they fit between doesn't fit as well because they're inflamed. So then even if you're in good alignment, then your tissue is like too big for the space, basically, right? And then there's swelling and edema in that area. So what you need to do is find areas to not cause pain, so you're not causing impingement, so you're not causing the tissue to swell, meanwhile improving the mechanics so that your functionality over time can improve to more easily not create the impingement, right? So now let's be really specific. Share with me what you did, where you get pain, and what you're thinking about range of motion, and I'll talk you through it.
Geez. You know, it's not so much here that the pain is for sure. It's more back here. And also I've begun to feel sensations here.
That's just
Like, I can't say if it's numb or if I can't tell if it's nerves or if it's muscle, honestly.
That's just referred pain. It's not, you don't have an issue there. It's referred pain. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not coming from cervical.
No, it could, yes.
stenosis.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it can come from cervical. What I'm saying is it's not here. You feel it here, but it's what we call radiculopathy.
Yeah.
So it could be coming from the shoulder. It could also be coming from the cervical. It can come from either. But the point is, it's not, even though you feel it here, like, oh, what should I do with my tricep? Like, yeah, these tissues might get a little adhesive because of the neurological signaling. So, stretches like this and rolling this part or massaging this part of it can help, but that's not where the cause, that's not where the foundation is. So, and for you with, you have hypermobility, as we've talked about when you came to a semi-private session, your scapula winging, and for everyone, just to repeat from today's session, the winging is where that scapula lifts off the rib cage. Well, this is showing another factor of also hypermobility and lack of stability. So for you, it's going to be a lot of focus on the stabilization, but show me some movements and positions, and so we can be more specific. Like you mentioned, bringing your arm out, or talk me through that.
Well, I have a foam roller and I used to do these, laying back. You did some of this today. With this, I feel here.
Of course.
The ones that we were doing today, I can't remember what we were doing. Lifting. I'm sorry, I'm not recalling. It wasn't the thoracic breathing. That was easy. It was more, it was something with our arms, and I can't remember which one. But again,
right
I was
away,
feeling it back here. I was feeling it here. I was feeling it here.
Okay, so
I'm sorry,
right
I can't
away,
remember.
it's okay. So right away, I can help you with that. So when you have shoulder impingement and stuff is going on with your shoulder pain, restriction, doing this with the roller is not such a good idea, because it's a straight, it's very light, but it's a straight fixed bar. And so unless you really understand how to position your pelvis, actually, first of all, and align your back and then align your scapula, it's not probably going to be so good for you. A better thing for you would be like doing the lat stretches. Go ahead.
Could I interrupt? When I say foam roller, I'm talking about laying on it from here to here.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Which a PT told me to do a few years ago, taught me how to do this.
No, that is good. No, that is good. Yeah. Because then your arms they're not fixed together. They have their ability to move separately, which is good. So that's much better then. So you just want to make sure your scapulars are kind of down and back when you do that. That's a good idea. Yeah, and here's the thing, like, so your lat and your pec minor could be too tight. So when you go to do that, even though if you have good motor control, it's not allowing the shoulder to actually align where it's supposed to. So, and we all have what I'm about to share. Well, 95% of us roughly have what I'm about to share. And that's, these tissues get excessively tight, and pec minor is one of those tissues that really is an issue. So what I recommend is using like a lacrosse ball, and you can order these online. And you simply put this into the chest, and then you lean against the wall like this. And so I don't show it in today's session because not everyone has a lacrosse ball, but in Q&A I can share this. So, but you can go and pick one up online very easily. So you roll the ball from here through basically all of these tissues. Like you have your collarbone, clavicle here. You don't want to be rolling on the bone. That's not going to help anything. But as long as it's on soft tissue, you're good. It's going to be pretty painful for most people. Of course, you can adjust the pressure. And so start light. You can also use a tennis ball. That's a good place to start. The lacrosse ball is like a level up intensity because of the density. And you lean against the wall and you just do side to side and up and down motions and little motions. I mean, you're doing like, I mean, it's very, very slow and go through the whole area. And your arm simultaneously is turned out like this. So that's, so for those of us who have like some serious impingement, like, man, you like get catches and stuff when you come up here, you'll start here. For those of us who have a little mobility, start here, then you can go here, go here, go here. And over time, you can get to where you're have your arm out like this, leaning against the wall and massaging this area. Be careful to keep your lower back in good alignment, pelvis neutral. But by doing that, you'd be you'd be shocked on actually how effective that is. It's really super effective. So you want to do things like this when you have shoulder issues and mobilize the areas that are truly restricted. Another areas like is the levator scapulae, pulls the scapula into a misaligned position. So, you know, simply doing some stretches, pulling with your hand, taking the other side thumb and massage through all those tissues. So before you do an upper body exercises, you should do all these mobility exercises, especially the ones that include self-applied massage, and then do your shoulder exercises. What you're going to find is it allows the joint to become aligned. So now you're more easily able to use the motor control. Because remember, we first have to see, do we have any mobility deficits? Yes. Okay, well, which ones? Okay, address the specific mobility deficits to create alignment. Okay, next. Now go through and optimize the motor control and the functionality. And then last, add strength and stability to this functionality, right? So that's when most people start with like performance and they're all misaligned in the motor control and they just damage everything in the process of getting fitness results, where they get a lot of negatives. So the way you avoid mobility, motor control, and stability in the function last. And that's specifically how we do that. Yeah.
And I should have said too, I just, you know, it hurts here when I do this and I'm impinging here, I guess. Like I don't feel like I can go far enough. Maybe I look like I can, but it's painful.
Yeah. So great example. So what you just did is you tried to go, it's interesting because you wouldn't think about what you just did as performance, but what you're doing is performance. So number one, I would stop doing that. And you're doing performance. That's
okay.
Performance. Trying to do a load or range of motion without alignment as the number one factor is creating dysfunction. So you're like, let me see how far. Oh, that hurts. Oh, well, it shouldn't hurt. I should have the mobility. No, like what you should do is like, oh, it's difficult to go there. Okay, well, the cervical is obviously misaligned, is having issues. So first, like make sure we're aligned front to back, that their head's not like this while we're trying to go here, which is more likely to cause issues. Comfortable. It's comfortable chin tuck. It's not like trying to force. Then mobilize the tissues by your hands by palpating and doing it from locally instead of trying to use the lever. So once you do that and you start massaging, then you're going to mobilize the tissue better without going to your end range, which is where you're finding impingement in the cervical. So use that. And then what you're going to find is then when you go to do your mobility, you're going to get at least a few more degrees. And now you can use those few more degrees in your functionality. You see, so yeah, always alignment, like mobility. There shouldn't be pain, basically, like unless you recently had an injury and the tissues are recovering, you might have a little pain working through therapeutic exercise. But yeah, no pain, total alignment, mobility focus. And if something's not feeling right, then there is another way. And that was a perfect example of another way.
So always alignment, then mobility, and then performance. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. James, hello, welcome, sir. Let's see if we can get you unmuted here. You should have a link on your screen to unmute. There we go. Yes. No, your audio, unfortunately, I don't think is going to work. Let me tell you how to make your audio work. So you go to the bottom of your Zoom toolbar on the far left. And what you're going to see is you're going to see an image of a microphone, and you're going to see a little arrow like this. If you click on that arrow, and then you go down and select a microphone. So your setting's probably on the wrong microphone setting. So if you go under select a microphone and choose, like, for example, built-in microphone, internal microphone, very likely that's going to enable your sound to work. James, we're going to feel free to keep working on that, and then when you think you've adjusted something, feel free to just speak, and we'll know that it's working. While you're doing that, Patricia, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Hello, good morning, Full Body Fixers. What I would like to share is that today we will start the session again in 30 minutes. If you arrived here late and you're only seeing the Q&A, don't worry, you will be able to watch the full session starting in 30 minutes. And we will also have the same session at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So you're welcome to stay in or to join us later if that's better for you. And tomorrow is our last session. It's always a sad time for us because we are not going to see each other in the near future. But I would love to have all of you back tomorrow and today if that's the case. Those are my last announcement. The replay session email will be sent today around 4 p.m. Pacific, and the checklist will be in there as well. Those are my announcements.
Yes, and tomorrow will be our last session of the Full Body Fix, and might be, as Patricia shared, and the last time we see each other, unless you become a VIP, which you'll learn about tomorrow. So that's the important fact she didn't share with you, is that unless you become a VIP. And with, for example, what I shared with Kate and all these details, it does get complex. I agree. Mechanics and the body and the way it functions is like complex. Like, how do we know how to figure all those things out? Become a VIP and we'll help you figure it all out for you. And we'll walk you through toe to head and get you in the absolute best shape of your life for this point of your life while we fix and optimize your body. So make sure you're with us tomorrow, because you'll learn quite a bit about that. And I would love to support you on that journey if you feel it makes sense for you. So make sure you're with us tomorrow. And we'll continue with another question here. And that is with Ines. Hello, Ines.
Hi there. I actually, well, I came in late, like halfway through the session, so I tried to pick up on things, and I'm just gonna wait for it to start again so that I can, get the notes. But it's kind of hard. I appreciate all your tips, but it's like, okay, we'll do this, but then be sure you still do that at the same time and everything. So it's kind of hard. But I thought to help the other gentleman who couldn't get the speaker, like on my computer, which this might be his case, I don't have the microphone like you were saying. On my computer on the far left, there's the microphone and it has a red line through it. And all I do is click on it and it removes the red line and then it unmutes me.
No, he was unmuted. Yeah, so sometimes with...
Oh, he already was unmuted.
Yeah, he was already unmuted. Yeah. Yeah, so I was giving him the next step, like
the next,
yes. So
Yeah,
if
for
we
me, I
have
don't
our-
have to choose some things. I thought, well,
Right.
maybe he has, like
Yeah.
I do, but,
Yeah,
oh, well,
sometimes those
sorry.
settings get, sometimes those settings get changed and then, yeah, so then you have to change it
Yeah.
to, yeah.
Yeah, but thank
Fun.
you.
You're welcome, Ines. I'm happy
Thank
you're
you.
here and definitely stick around. We're going to be starting the second airing of the fourth session, today's session, in 29 minutes, about 28, 29 minutes from now.
Thank you for all your help.
You're so welcome. And back to you, Kate. Hello, welcome. Sorry, let me.
There we go. I have found success. Obviously, it's not going to be the end all and be all 100%, but using tilt tables in the past.
Hmm.
What's your opinion about those? Under what conditions or what kind of clients do you think that helps?
Yeah, those are good. Especially the last part of your question was good. Yeah, I'm a little concerned for our population over the age of 50 doing an inversion table. Just for all the rush of the blood to the head and aneurysms, and strokes, and this type of thing. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty. I don't ever talk about it in inversion tables because it's an unknown danger, is what it is. It's like, okay, let's talk about only mechanics. Yeah, throughout the day we have compression of our spine, bone disc bone interface, and when we go on an inversion table, it does create a form of traction, and it's an inexpensive form of traction. There are traction devices for home use that I've tested that are about $700, $800 to $1,000, that work well, and you lay on your back on the floor, whereas an inversion table is like, you can get a decent inversion for about $120 to $200. So it could work biomechanically, but I'll just tell everybody this: there's a risk factor from having all that blood rush to your head, and I don't suggest it. But if you want to, on your own choices, try it out for your mechanics, you can. But I say it could be dangerous for individuals.
Yeah, that's what's so challenging for me. I really like it and it helps me. I don't currently have one, but I have had one in the past. But there's stroke in my family. So it's frustrating because I really, really benefited from it. How about my chiropractor tried to talk me into orthotics for my feet a year ago when I was having severe joint pain, probably post-COVID. And I worked through that. I was grateful for your recommendation of the device that Patricia used for her bunion. I do have one bunion, so I plan to do that. I think that's really going to help. But I really don't have the same pain that I did. But in general, I understand her point of view that orthotics that are computerly, digitally measured to the point is pretty fantastic. You put your feet on the machine, it measures you, and it can tell where I'm tilted clear up here. I mean, I just find that pretty fascinating. I didn't go ahead and get them, but in general, do you think orthotics are good for some persons? And if so, whom or not? Do you think it's a false sense of?
So orthotics are excellent for decreasing symptoms caused by mechanics that aren't optimal, but the foundation is mechanics. So by using the orthotic, it's like using a brace while we exercise. So like, let me give you some background on that. So they did a really cool research study on back bracing. And basically the same thing you're going to learn from back bracing, what you're going to have in a takeaway in about 60 seconds from now is going to apply the same thing across the board in all types of bracing, orthotic, and that type of thing. So what happened was they had Home Depot workers wear, and in case you're not in a part of the world that and Home Depot is, it's a gigantic home construction store. So the workers are commonly lifting things in the store. So wearing back braces versus not wearing back braces, two groups. Group that wore back brace, injuries on job decreased. what's interesting is greater than those who weren't wearing back brace. But what's interesting is injuries outside of job increased greater than those who didn't wear back brace. And a large part of that is because the bracing is
Engagements.
creating is like an artificial security and stabilization instead of training the body to do that. So when they take the brace off and they do their recreational activity on the weekend, they'd end up getting injured easier because they didn't have the training in their body from the physical activity they're doing. They were relying on a brace for that additional support. So the takeaway is bracing and that type of thing is good in these scenarios. You have a current injury, inflammation, something's going on. Okay, brace it, get yourself more past those symptoms, remove brace and continue optimizing mechanics, right? That's the ideal. So like with an orthotic, it's going to give you symptomatic relief and real relief. Like you're going to decrease inflammation, tissues can start to heal, but we still have a weak, misaligned foot, flat foot, like all the things that are happening.
Right.
So it's much better to train your strength and your stability and the mobility throughout all the tissues, because that transfers up the chain as well and you restore your function. So how should you approach it? My recommendation, when you're getting high volume, like you're going to Home Depot, which is a huge store, and you're going to do a lot of walking, and it's a very hard floor, use the orthotic if you need them. Then when you're in home doing exercise, like home exercise, and it's more of a controlled setting, don't use the orthotic as long as you're not extremely symptomatic at the moment. Don't use it and develop your feet and your functionality, and then over time start to go away from the orthotic as you feel comfort and positive results from doing so. So that's how you'd want to approach it.
And I didn't get them out, and I'm glad that I didn't actually. And I spend most of my life barefoot. It's another thing. Do you like the idea of a barefoot shoe? Not,
Yeah.
do you?
Yeah, I do, but just again, like I can't just say, oh, you should use a barefoot shoe, because
You can't for everybody.
we're not ready for 99% of people are not ready for that. So like, yeah, use barefoot shoe, but only to your comfort and in a very limited, and it takes a long time to slowly progress up using the barefoot shoe. Yeah.
The chiropractor also gave me an orthosis foam thing for my neck to try to put the curve back in. You think that's a good idea?
Yeah, if your neck is more straight and you have
It's definitely straight.
orthotic curve, just you should do it gently. Like one of the thing that I like the most is there's the postural pump, which is exactly what you're explaining, where it puts the curve, but the device has a strap here, and you start with not having a curve and your neck is more flat, and then you have a bulb that you pump, and then it starts to inflate and put into your neck. So you can do like repetitions. You can pump for a few seconds and then release, pump for a few and release. And then you can hold for like a minute and release. And long story short, like all exercise, you can build up your tolerance and your functionality versus like just putting one fixed position for a period of time. It's a much better training process.
Now, is that for orthosis or your curve exactly? I mean, I have one of those already for traction on my neck. A PT actually gave me one of those that's really good. Saunders brand, I believe. And so it's just for traction, but what you're talking, and it pumps up. What you're talking about, is that affect the curve too?
Yes.
The one that I have would affect the curve, or you're talking about a different one? Did you say it straps around here or something?
It actually goes like here.
Oh, mine does. Yeah. So is that
Oh,
what you're talking about? It's
Yeah.
just for traction, right?
Well, it's
Okay.
for a pump. It has a pump. Yeah, it has.
Mine
it's
does
for
too.
it's for restoring the lordotic curvature. Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got the foam device that I just lay on for the curve. And the other thing that I've used with the pump, I thought was just for traction, but are you saying
No,
it will help the curve too?
No, I'm saying they make a device for the curve that's a pump.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm
So
familiar
it'd be
with
a
what you're saying.
separate.
Yeah, they have the traction device with pump, but they also make the traction. They also, not traction, they make the curvature device with pump also.
Got it. So it's
Yeah.
two different things. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
correct.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome, Kate. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow too. Hello, Maria. Welcome to you.
Hi, Robbie. Hi, everybody. I have
I'm
a
awesome.
couple
Top of the
questions for you.
morning, top of the afternoon to you.
It's still morning, but I just the time is different. I don't know, and I came a little later, so I will look for a class later on. I have a question for you. I
Okay.
had some problems in my left side in the body. A couple years ago, I had a frozen shoulder. It was extremely painful, and I did the yoga classes. It helped me a lot, but still have some restrictions in the scapula area. And recently noticed also the left foot go inside. So if you can also very tight in the neck, maybe like most is the left part of the body. It's really problematic.
Yeah, so for me to give you feedback, because you're giving me some I'd have to evaluate you. I need to know, like, okay, what is your pec minor length? What is your lat mobility, your lateral cervical flexion on each side, your cervical rotation, ranges of motion, and all this data would tell me how is your body positioned or aligned and which tissues are restricted. And then you talked about your foot, and they can be related, yes, but it's a long distance, which means there's a lot of analysis that we need to figure out. So it's a little difficult for me. I'm going to give you some advice, but it's a little difficult to
Okay.
really give you a solid answer until I know that data. One thing that I think is really helpful is to know that as a VIP, we would figure out all those things with and for you. And then I'd be able to, my team and I would be able to specifically give you prescription to address all of those things. So, my biggest suggestion is to go through what we did in today's session. Did you say you went through today's session already?
No, I didn't. I will do like, yeah, I
Okay.
missed this 1 hour.
Okay, so the next, so
Okay.
you're gonna be around in 17 minutes for the start of the next one. Okay, so yeah, I would suggest you just go through, I'm gonna walk you through a lot of those things. We don't do rotation in today's session, but we do lateral cervical flexion. So I walk you through a lot of those things, and it's gonna start peeling back that onion and getting to the core of what's going on. And then it'll be easier to add other components after as needed. Yeah,
Okay, can you give me one more question, please?
sure, of course.
Are there any mechanical conditions in the body can cause vertigo or dizziness?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, especially what you're explaining that you have can cause that, because you have tissue tension around vascular structures, and yeah, it can absolutely cause that and get, like, do you ever get headaches?
Yeah, I often
Yeah.
have headaches, and recently I had very severe accident with vertigo. I was like turned around there and almost hit my countertop, and it was I just lucky everything here ended okay, but so this is what I think it might cause some problems with my neck and shoulder.
Yeah, so as you mobilize, your lateral cervical flexors of your cervical spine, and you have optimal range of motion here, optimal range of motion in your body, and you begin to exercise more, and you breathe properly, which is in through the nose, out through the nose, and you're getting connection with your body and all these tissues. And very importantly, that you're seeing yourself as the results you want to be. This is really important and can't be understated. And you go through a full physical training process, you're going to lose a lot of restriction. You're going to feel much more mobile. You're going to have better blood flow. You're going to be more centered, and yeah, it'll change your life, actually. So that's your pathways: going through a full series of mobility exercise regularly, connect with your body, and then having the emotion to connect with your body, and seeing and having the belief of the transformation in your body. This is huge. And the breathing is really big too, is really important. So In the most simple terms, proper breathing is thorough in through the nose. And when you exhale, it's good to train yourself to exhale, expire all of your air. Because one of the things that happens as we age is we start to not expire all of the air. So the lung capacity decreases simply because we're only going here and breathing like this. But if we exhale all of our, then we're able to take a bigger breath. And this also functions with the diaphragm. So because you're taking a bigger breath, the diaphragm drops down more, and the diaphragm, the way it works is like a second heart. So now it's starting to pump more toxins and fluid flow throughout your body. And it's actually going to increase your health, your circulation, which then makes your tissues healthier and increases your metabolism. So there's a lot of, and then gets rid of waste product. So the breathing with the mindset, with the mechanics, will change anybody's life to extreme positive. Yeah.
And also, how can I schedule an appointment with you later, like in near future? Because right now I'm not able to do this. I am going through a lot of stuff right now that I can't take personal training. What you're going to do? So how can I schedule like in?
So
near
that's
future?
that's a really good question. Hopefully it's beneficial for others as well. And the answer is, if that's where you're at, you can join tomorrow. You can join tomorrow. And for example, if like you can't start till September or October or November.
Yeah.
You're going to get a very special offer that you can't get it anywhere else other than in that session. If you try to buy elsewhere, it's not going to be the same. So you could join then, and then just send Patricia a message, and we could start you for whenever. So you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to join and
okay.
then lose out because you can't do it right away. So
Okay, should I send an email or in the on the meeting box?
email would be
Email.
best. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patricia@thefitnessdoctor.com. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Robbie, for your help.
You're so welcome. And oh, hey, Maria, where are you connecting with us from?
I am in Illinois. I'm in suburb in Illinois.
Oh, so where
Yeah.
where are you from originally?
Me, I am from Ukraine.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot going on there. I bet.
Yeah, a lot, and we still have families there. It's a lot of, yeah.
Wow. Well, my heart goes out to your family, and I'm sure you're happy you're in Illinois.
Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
yeah. Lots of love to you. Patricia? Anything else you'd like to share before we temporarily, so we're going to temporarily close our Zoom windows, and in 10 minutes, roughly about 10 minutes, we'll be starting into the session again in the same exact meeting. Anything you'd like to add, Patricia?
Bye for now, full body fixers.